Today we're going to tackle this front post here, the front corner, and the rust comes up fairly high here, so I made the decision to go with a store-bought panel, which will make it a little different than the other side. But the first thing that we got to do before we tackle that is tackle this rust here first, get all the structure done, then we can move on to the panel. So let's get started. Okay, so we're just getting ready for our first panel that I just bent up there. So it's going to be kind of a backer panel here. So exactly what, 56 had, but for what we're doing, it's going to work out perfectly. Gives us a little bit more support back over here instead of putting another strap in over on the right side. So we'll clamp her in, tack it up, and then we can move on to the next piece. That looks pretty good. So our next piece, sure. You've seen the other video. So this is just out of a donor truck. So I'm cheating a little bit because it's already bent up for me. So I'm going to just cut a little chunk out of here. And then, because this gets wider, I have to just thin this down a little bit so that it fits the contour over here. And I'll do that and we'll stick her in there. And that'll take care of that part, and then all we have to do is work on here. Now on the back side over here, there's the odd little pinhole. Now, it's not worth going through the whole effort of, putting a new patch in there unless it was really, really bad. So we'll weld those up from the inside, and then it'll make it a lot easier to grind from the outside, or the good side. All right, we'll continue on and catch up to you on the next one. All right, I got this little panel flanged up here. Now what I did was I actually extended this little piece here, just, a little chunk on there. And remember, we had to narrow this down because this piece here came out of a donor panel and it's a little wider. So last time I cut all the way down, and then I've kind of had to, figure out how to put it back together and where to put it back together. All I did this time was just make the cut partially, got it fitting. So what I'll do, I'll weld this up, set her up in there, tack her in, and that panel is complete. Before we do that though, I will spray this with a primer, and don't forget your plug holes. And when you're doing that, it really took me a long time to figure it out, but really, step drill. Just buy a step drill. They are so nice to use on the thin metal. A lot safer too. Save you on band-aids as well. Okay, we'll weld that up, prime her up, get her tacked in. Okay, got the top tacked up here, but I'm a little bit out of parallel here, so what I'm going to end up doing is just running my zip cut along the bottom so I can give it a little bit of a twist, make her fit. Not far off. Or lift the floor up a little bit. Let's see what happens with that. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. Tack that into place. Okay, now that we got this tacked in here, it's all nice and straight and happy. So the next step, we're gonna just do this little piece right here. And then once this is done, we can tack that, and then the floor is structurally secured to the rest of the body. So I'm just gonna use my little template here. We'll cut a little pattern. And what I do, or cut a little patch, what I'll do here is I'll just cut out the rust and then I go over top of it. I don't butt weld this at all. I just go over top. Because down in this little section here, you don't have to worry about having perfect. Now on the back side, that first piece that we put in actually comes up to about here. So on these 56s, there was a piece that came over here on this side. So now we have a little bit more structure on the back side, so I don't usually put this in here. Unless, you know, you really want it to be exact, then you could kind of flange a little piece in here and you're good. But for the most part, I just put this up against there, give her a weld, and then we'll seam seal this little crack here, and it'll be absolutely beautiful. Now one of the things, I did not cut this all out of here. Like the first thing that you do when you're a rookie is you got your zip cut out and you just start cutting everything out. You got no reference points if you do that. So what I do is I leave all this stuff in here. This is holding this in, you know, and I've got a good reference. And I only cut out, when I put this patch in, I only cut out what I need, because if I've got an original body line, everything's just better. So we'll cut this little patch out, tack her in. So what I'm building here, this is just the brace here. I'll give it a little bit more structure here for your fender when it bolts up. So what you want to do, because this is going to have a compound curve to it, really hard to make a 90 off the edge. So all I do is take some 3/16, bend it one way, bend it another way, And then what I'll do is just tack this on here, throw a little bit of putty on there, paint it, and then that'll be the brace. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that it fits the contour of your new panel here perfectly. And then that way when you bolt it up and you weld it on here, we'll plug weld it, it'll be perfect. Okay, I got my little brace all flanged up. So basically what we want to do is just make sure it fits the contour of our panel here. That looks pretty good. That's going to work out great. I'll just tack that up where I've cut it off. Well, actually I just accidentally cut it off, but it'll work. I can just put it back on and be good. Now, on our panel, I have my little gauge that I made off of an original, and if I put it on here, you can see that it rocks a little bit. So this panel isn't really exactly what the original is. So all I'm going to do is just make a couple cuts with my zip and flatten this out, make this panel a little closer to original. Tack it up and then I can start to fit it up. That's a little better. Okay, so I've rough cut my panel out, and remember, just because your panel comes up to here doesn't mean that you have to use the whole panel, just use what you need. So I got it pretty close, but we got to do a little fine tuning, and remember, do a really good job of setting up your panel. Take some time, it'll pay off in the end for sure. What I'm using to fine tune this is just a flapper disc here. Makes for some easy work. I've got this fitting pretty good. So our next step is we're going to weld in our brace here. Alright? And we're just going to tack it in. We're just going to make sure that we get it all right before we finalize that, because we don't want to cut it apart again. Once we got that tacked and everything all kind of flanged up, then we can put this on. Now on the back side here, I didn't weld it all the way along. You can kind of see that I just spotted it. So along the inside I just ran some seam sealer, and that just kind of seals it up. It's going to make it last a lot longer. Yeah, there's no need to be welding the whole thing up. You'll end up warping it all up and it's not going to work very good. So we'll tack this up, get this fitting finalized. Weld her together. Alright, now I'm quite happy how this fits in here. The holes line up. This brace seems to follow along. You may have to tweak it one way or another. So what I'm going to do now is just weld these up, and then when I put this on, I'm just going to put a couple bolts on here and just kind of pinch it in there and hold it, and then I can weld the rest of this patch on. Before I do that, once this is all welded up, I'll get in here, prime it, and down along here do a little bit of a seam seal, and just do a good job of sealing everything up so that it's just going to last longer. Okay, we'll weld that up. Okay, I'm just finalizing everything for the front post. Got everything fitting nice, clamped in. Like on the inside, I made sure everything was primed and sealed up. And you can see when I build my panels, I build them a little larger. That's easy to cut off when we're all said and done. Over here. And then we can trim that later. It's pretty hard to add on, so it's okay to do that. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we're going to start right there. Hands out of focus, but you can see, because that's our most important line right there. So make sure that we start there, and then we'll work around and then get everything in place and welded. Now you can see where I've drilled all the holes for some plug welds. So now that we've got that all set up, I can go ahead and weld that. And if you're wondering what that copper looking stuff is, well, all that is just a primer that you can weld on. And you can buy that at any automotive shop. Yeah, she's all simple from here on. As you can see that things are a little bit better for me now, because when I give her a little tweak like that, you can see that I've got it on my rotisserie. So it's sitting up in the air a little bit. It's kind of cheating, but I'm willing to accept that. All right, I'll weld her up. You can see that our cab corner, I've got it all welded up, and all I've done is just basically a rough grind on it. Now, I know if you haven't seen the other side, when I do a rough grind, I use a grinding disc that is for aluminum. Basically, they're a lot softer, they're going to produce a lot less heat, and they really take the metal down fast. So you still have to be fairly careful. You don't want to burn a hole through it or anything like that, but you're not wasting your time grinding. And I know that they don't last as long, but it's all about the quality here. So from this point on, our next step is going to be doing the body work, and we will be definitely filming that for you. You know, this turned out nice. I'm very happy the way it turned out, and you won't even know.